With the Celtics collapse yesterday, the 3-0 comeback has still never been done. The new record of teams coming back from 3-0 is now 0-151. Here's a graph for this. You'll notice a whole lot of them getting swept, with 115 losing in 4. Then you will see a good number of teams who were forced to game 5, but then ended up losing, with that number being 20. Then 4 teams losing in 6, and only 4 teams who have forced a game 7 but eventually lost. Other sports have done it, with 3 in NHL history and 1 in MLB history in the 2004 ALCS, where the Red Sox came back from 3-0 and eventually won the World Series. But what makes basketball different? Here's put simply why the 3-0 comeback never happens. There's a mental barrier, talent disparity, and the winning team knows what works. But the Celtics were coming off 3 straight wins, so they had the mental edge. Also, the Celtics were favored to win the series, so they had the talent. And the Celtics found out all the ways to counter the Heat's defense. So the Celtics meted all the requirements to pull off a 3-0 comeback. But why didn't it happen? The Heat dominated the Celtics in the first 3 games of the Eastern Conference Finals with a balanced attack and resilient defense. They won almost all 3 games by double digits, shooting over 50% from the field and 40% from the three-point line. They had 6 players averaging double figures in scoring, led by Jimmy Butler's 24.7 points per game. They also out-rebounded the Celtics by an average of 8.3 boards per game and forced them into 16 turnovers per game. The Celtics, on the other hand, struggled to find their rhythm and consistency against the Heat's zone, defense, and physicality. They shot only 43% from the field and 32% from beyond the arc in the first 3 games. They also had trouble containing the Heat's pick-and-roll and transition offense, giving up easy buckets and fouls. Their star duo of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown combined for only 37.3 points per game on 39% shooting, well below their regular season averages. Up until this point, the Heat had 11 playoff wins, which was the second most by any 8 seed in history. If you look at this graph, you will see the most successful 8 seeds. At the top with the most playoff wins is the 1998-99 New York Knicks with 12 wins. Next up is the Heat this year with 11 playoff wins. Then 2010-11 Memphis Grizzlies with 7 playoff wins. The 2006-2007 Golden State Warriors with 6 playoff wins, and so on. The Heat were on fire up to this point, exceeding all expectations. And if you count their Game 7, you will see that they are currently tied as the best 8 seed in NBA history with 12 wins. But how did the Celtics turn this around? The Celtics showed their toughness in games 4, 5, and 6, overcoming a 3-0 deficit to force a Game 7. They made some key adjustments on both ends of the floor, such as playing more zone defense to disrupt the Heat's rhythm, attacking the basket more aggressively to draw fouls and get to the free throw line, and get more protection from their bench players like Derek White. The Celtics also relied on their star duo of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who bounced back from their poor shooting performances in the first 3 games. Tatum averaged 31.3 points, 10.7 rebounds, and 6.3 assists per game on 49% shooting in games 4, 5, and 6, while Brown averaged 25 points, 8 rebounds, and 3.7 assists per game on 52% shooting. They combined for 64 points in Game 5 and 60 points in Game 6, carrying the Celtics to those 2 close wins. They totally flipped the script and had fans believing that they were going to overcome a 3-0 deficit. But, as we all know, the 3-0 god struck again. If you remember from the graph earlier, there have been only 4 times where a team down 3-0 has forced a Game 7. The first were the 1951 New York Knicks, which I have no idea if I will be able to find footage of this game. The Royals won the first 3 games of the series, 2 at home and 1 on the road, and seemed like they were going to sweep the Knicks. However, the Knicks rallied back to win the next 3 games, 2 at home and 1 on the road, and they forced a Game 7. The Knicks had a chance to make history as the first ever team to overcome a 3-0 deficit in a playoff series, but they fell short in a close game. The Royals held on to win 79-75 and claimed their first and only NBA title. Next up was the 1994 Denver Nuggets. The Jazz won the first 3 and the Nuggets came back. They once again had a chance to make history as the first team to come back from down 3-0, but they fell short in a close game. The Jazz held on to win 91-81 and advanced to face the Houston Rockets. Next was the 2003 Portland Trail Blazers. Once again, they were down 3-0 but came back, but we all know they fell short. The Mavericks held on to win 107-95 and advanced to face the Sacramento Kings. And with the Celtics losing, that makes yet another unsuccessful 3-0 comeback. Sure, the 3-0 comeback isn't impossible, but if you assume that all games were 50-50, that would mean that if you were down 3-0, you would have a 6.25% chance of winning it. But as we all know, there are better teams, so not every game is a 50-50. The chance of pulling off a 3-0 comeback is near impossible. The Celtics are going to be the closest team we will ever see in making that 3-0 comeback. All other 3 teams were on the road, but the Celtics had the momentum and home court to win it, but it was just one of their off days. Now with the Heat in the finals, it will be the second 8th seed in the finals in NBA history. If you look at this graph, you'll see the last 23 finals teams point differential in the regular season, and with the only point differential in the negatives is the 2023 Miami Heat, a run like no other. If you like this video, a like and sub would go a long ways. Thank you.